Alright, then back to the conversation, like as you say, you go so usually like when you go to a case, like what's the mindset do you go into? Like do you hope for a win or do you hope for a favourable outcome at the least?
So also a part of this human rights journey is, I felt it's because as a Christian, you know, that religion played a big part for me in this decision to do human rights, because I want to give back, you know, being so blessed. I feel like I'm very blessed and I want to give back to the society. So when you go, of course you want to win, that is what you want, but sometimes you don't always get it. But the fact that you know you actually stood there and you said whatever you need to say, and that's the fulfillment, you know, you get that it's out there, people know. Thankfully, the enforced disciplinary cases, we actually want to prove our point that they said special branch of Malaysia was involved in their abduction. We were very surprised that they actually made that finding, because meaning the special branch, which is the police force in Malaysia, they abducted these two people because of their religion. That was the point we were trying to prove, and they did. So now the case is going to civil courts. Again, at the same time, that decision is not binding. So how come this decision is not binding? But it impacted the nation at large, because people were supposed to protect you ended up being, this is what it was decided in the inquiry. People who were supposed to protect you ended up being the ones who were harming you. And media played a role. That again, strategic litigation. But media is very important in human rights cases, because, like, for example, the stateless children cases, Malay Mail always reports on it, and we sometimes get Malay Mail to sit with us during the hearing so they can report on it. A lot of our clients, they come to us because of the media, they read on the media. Like, oh, I heard your case, your firm does this, so can you help us? So that is why media is very important, because people don't know their rights. Simple as being stopped by the police. You don't know, you can actually question the police, why am I being stopped? Show me your police card. But people don't know their rights. They quickly think, oh no, I did something wrong, you know, stuff like that. So that's why it's very important to get it out there. Like, awareness is very important in strategic litigation. Doesn't mean you win, but you win awareness. Yeah.
So since you're in the topic of winning, something of it, like what's your personal definition of success then?
So my managing partner, he's a lot of what I learned is from him, Captain Kenny. He's amazing. He always tells me, he told me a story once. He said, you know, when you grow older, when you have your grandkids, you're not going to tell them about that $1 million deal you closed. You're not going to say, like, you know, when I was younger, there was a company and we managed to sell the company for $1 billion, blah, blah, blah. But it's the story that you say, do you know, when I was younger, I helped this child get a citizenship. You know, when I was younger, I helped this person get true freedom of religion. You change that person's life. And that is what success is, about making an impact in someone else's life. It doesn't have to be a big, like, change the world, you have to make a policy, but it's making a dent in someone's life. Because who knows, 50 years down the road that I bump into this child who I help, and he's some big CEO and he's like, thank you for doing this, you know, like, and that's all you want, you know, to see like they made it. Yeah, because if money is your goal in this area, it's very hard. Because you know that human rights is all about your passion and value and compassion, why you want to do it, because you see that there is an issue that needs help with. But if you see it as an opportunity to get rich or for money, it's not the right area. Yeah.
I see. Like, to get to know you better, like what exactly is the drive for this to make a positive impact on people then? Like, is there any inspirational story behind it, or is that just like natural thing you feel like a desire, a hunger to do it in the first place?
Again, I go back to God being very important in my life, and I always feel like the whole reason of Christianity is to like serve. This is my personal conviction, it can be anyone else's or whatever. So like, I feel like you always want to help people. What are you living for? When you die, you know, you want to leave a legacy. You want people to remember you of the things you make them feel, or how, such an Instagram quote. Like how you want to make them feel, not about the other things, you know, it's all about the impact. That's why I feel it's so important. Like for me, when I go into a meeting, or a party or anywhere, I want to be remembered, people to remember my name, because that's the impact you leave. Like you can walk around and people come up to you, Larissa, I met you here. I'm like, I don't even recognize that person, but they remember the impact that you leave. So you want to live that. I'm not saying this to gloat, I'm saying this like to leave an impact that people will remember you for the right reason. Because people won't remember you if you're, they'll probably remember you if you're arrogant in a bad way. But if they remember you in a nice way, it's because how you were. So I guess that's very important for me. And I think what's very important as well that I wish I knew when I was younger, right? As a lawyer, yes, it's about case knowledge that you learn. You read your company law, you know the law, you know the case, you can draft. These are all knowledge that can be learned. A doctor can be a lawyer if you wanted to, but to manage people it's a whole different thing that law school doesn't teach you. How you manage expectations, manage situations, like in a divorce case, how you manage the way they think, because most of the time in divorce you're fueled by anger, so you don't see the underlying purpose, which is for the best interest of a child or someone else. So you manage expectation people, and how do you manage people is your character. If people don't jive with your character, you cannot manage people because people don't trust who you are as a person, right? So that is a very important skill that law school doesn't teach someone, is how you are with people. And especially human rights cases is dealing with people who don't know a lot. Knowledge, you don't know, and you have to sit down with them and tell them the steps. Like, this is what we'll do, this is what will happen, and if this happens, and they always ask what is the success rate. I won't tell them definitely will win, no. You never, because I even don't dare to say that, because it depends on the case, on the facts, it depends on the judge, it depends on your opponent, these kind of things. So about managing expectation and how you make the client feel will ensure your next client who's coming to you. Because if they make you feel like horrible, your service was bad, they won't come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so basically that's it.
Then when you speak of all this knowledge that law school doesn't teach, I think we'll go on to our last and final question.
Okay.
What advice will you give to aspiring lawyers, and put yourself in their shoes, back then what words will you want to know when you want to become a human rights lawyer?
Okay, number one, I love traveling. And they didn't really tell you at law school that you cannot be a litigation lawyer around the world easily. As a doctor or as an engineer, you can get a job overseas quite easy, but if as a lawyer, you need to redo an exam for 1 whole year, so it's a process. It's a bit upset about that because I thought I could be traveling. But number two, human rights ensures that you can travel. So last year in America, I got that trip. That was I've never been, and it's amazing. So my advice to law school students who are interested in this area is actually what you thought of doing. Start interning in these little firms, get your name in there so people know who you are. So you go to MCCHR, that's an NGO for human rights. UNHCR, I did an internship for a month or two in UNHCR when I was waiting for my result. So people already know you, and once they know you already, once you go back or if you want to work with them again, it's very easy. The process is very easy because you've been there already, so they will accept you. UNHCR, I only worked there for a month or so, but again, leaving an impact. People remember you as an intern. I called one day just to ask the inquiring about the case, and the person actually says Larissa, the one who asked, do you even know? So it's because I remember at UNHCR, I didn't just do the job for the sake of doing it because I cared so much. It's different, when you do a job for the sake of doing it and when you actually care because you give it your all. It's a very different perspective. So get into a firm. Let's say if you want to go into one of these firms, intern with them first. And passion. If you have passion for something, whatever it is, you will be good at it and you will try. If you don't have passion and you're stuck in it, if you're in law school now, you don't have passion for law school, it will be very hard. It will be a very hard process. So know your passion, know what you like. Start now in your school. What are the subjects you're good at? You feel like you're really passionate about it, and start thinking outside the box how you can implement that in other areas. What you're doing now is so amazing. Really, you and your friends, I wouldn't have done that as a A-level student. So good on you. Be proactive. Yeah, and reach out to other lawyers. People are always willing to teach you. You just need to ask. You know, like when you just ask, like I was like, oh sure, but you know, you still ask, right? So to be proactive and always ask questions. I know in school we always don't like to ask questions. We only go at the end of the class, ask the teacher, like, teacher, how about this? You know, must be bold. Make your presence known. Don't be like every other student.
I definitely understand.
Yeah.
Alright, that comes to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.